Welcome, guys, to another Prowler podcast. I'm your host, as always, Preston Pritchard. And of course, today is New Year's Eve. So, as we're closing out 2025 with a story for every athlete who's been overlooked and underestimated, I think it's going to be a really good one. Our guest today is Cris Paul. He owns Halftime Hustle, as you see, went from a barely touching the field at Plano West to one breakout game and one game day vlog that changed his entire trajectory, honestly. He attended Ottawa University and AI school where he obtained NIL deals at 19 with brands like Spotify, Microsoft, On and Arm and Hammer. But not because of the spotlight found him, but it's because he built his own brand and his own self. So I think it's going to be really crucial for a lot of athletes that are lower than the D1 level to listen to. So as we head into this new year, this episode is going to pretty much be about betting on yourself and outgrowing what you used to be and finding your purpose after the jersey comes off, and ultimately help build your own brand. So let's get into it. I'm going to turn over to Cris as he introduces himself a little more, and we'll get into today's podcast, guys.
That was a pretty good introduction. That kind of took all the words away from me. Yeah, my name's Cris, and I am a former NAI college athlete who is now a current founder of Halftime Hustle, which is a brand that's dedicated towards helping athletes build brands that help them get opportunities on and off the field, and also with NIL. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. You know, a lot of players, we're also an NIL agent, but we take a lot more lower compensation than a lot of agencies. But, we had a player come to us not too long ago, and the agent that he previously had was taking 40% of each NIL deal. And that's just outrageous. I mean,
Yeah.
the most that agent has to do is review a contract just to make sure the legal terms are correct, right? And it's outrageous to know these agents are, using these players as like their lifelong earnings, So things sad, but we're going to jump into tonight's first segment, and it's about from underdog to recognized name and building the foundation, Cris. So the first question is: when you realize that one game and one vlog change your visibility, what were the first three steps you took to capitalize on the momentum instead of letting it fade?
One of the steps I really took was it wasn't just that single game or that game day vlog that got me the attention. I think it was the things I did after. And some of the things I did after was posting consistently on TikTok, Instagram, just my journey and just my story to get that story out there to other people. And there was a lot of authenticity behind that because I wasn't looking to gain any opportunity out of that. I just wanted people to hear and understand where I'm coming from as a player and athlete at that time. I mean, I went from riding the bench my whole senior year until that final game, and people really saw my talent, and it was so monumental to where the principal of 4,000 students at a high school came up to me and decided, like, hey, like, where have you been at all season? Like, you put a lot of heart out there, and I could really tell that you wanted it, this and things like that. That's not something that, I mean, always happens. It's almost like a Cinderella story. So what else could you do but not capitalize on it? So gaining that attention through content, telling that story, that really grew my brand a lot. College recruits who were getting recruited at the time back in 2022, they were reaching out to me. Coaches, one coach threw me an offer just because he liked my character a lot and my film. Like, he knew the talent was there because I'm coming from Texas, and I had a lot of film from one-on-ones at camps. So he knew the talent was there, but he loved my character even more. So that stood out to me a lot.
Character carries a long way with a lot of coaches still, and a lot of players don't realize that. You can be the best player on the field, and you could be the next Julio Jones at a receiver, but if you're not, got a good character behind it, it can quickly fade real quick, especially with the transfer portal and everything.
For sure.
So
And
go ahead.
to build on with social media, it's really important when you do get that attention to clean up your brand and your page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I remember when I was starting out, getting that attention, I had old TikToks from when I was younger in high school that had nothing to do with me being a football player and me trying to build a name for myself. It really just had to do with making dumb videos as a teenager. So cleaning up my socials to reflect who I actually was and who I'm trying to turn into, that impacted me a lot. It turned my page into almost a 24/7 billboard for athletes or coaches to look at and really understand and grasp what they're getting from my account when they watch my videos. And that helped me get my followers up. That helped me get my engagement up. And I try to make it really important for any athlete who's listening to this that matters a lot. A lot of people try to say they're content creating and their page looks like something that you do not want to show to your next boss in the future.
Yep.
That's
I
really
mean,
important.
players got to realize it. It's like their LinkedIn profile. It's your business site for sports. Your X
Exactly.
and IG and TikTok. Every coach is going to look at that. Every coach is going to look through your social media. So that's one of the things we do at the Prowler. On our other side of things, outside the podcast, we have a recruiting NIL service, as many know. We take that approach, but we also take control of the players' Instagram and X because we know how crucial your presentation is. And if you're not good with that, then you're not going to sign with us, right? We actually had a discussion yesterday with another NIL agency, and they heard us hear our approach, and they were like, "That's the smartest idea ever," because you get to control what your image is as a company, but also help you get the better results for your player. Because you see we have a lot of NIL players that come to us and deny us because we don't want certain things posted, and that's a big criteria, just like you said. So,
Exactly.
but you know what, Chris, at Ottawa, how did you leverage the campus culture and teammates in the community to grow your presence without, coming off as like a self-promotional, because a lot of teammates will kind of view that in some ways.
Yeah, that's also a good question because I don't know, coming in there, being a freshman at 18 years old, it was that environment where you couldn't really describe it as normal freshmen get to experience. I got in there, and a lot of my older teammates, they all knew of me. My head coach knew of me because they saw my TikTok and my social media account.
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously got a lot of buzz around that. People kind of having these perceptions or expectations on the type of person I was. But I never really let any of the self-promotional stuff really get in the way of that. I think it was just your brand isn't something that needs to be so synthesized and curated. At the end of the day, you're just being yourself. So people really liked who I was when I got there. They realized I wasn't just a stuck up person that just made videos and was just worried about likes, clicks, and views. No, they found out I was a pretty genuine guy, and that's what, if anything, built off of that. And it really helped me adapt really well into the program. As a freshman, I did rack one touchdown during a Gold Squad game, and that people found out like, hey, I wasn't just a TikToker as they wanted to joke about, like I'm a football player. So yeah, I think really just earning that respect, it was a privilege because it's always good to prove people wrong, but it was good to also let them know like, hey, like I'm your teammate at the end of the day.
For sure, for sure. No, that's crucial because this is mainly at the D1 level, but a lot of players take that self-promotional, and elevate their ego too high, right? And they forget there's a team and a brotherhood or a sisterhood behind that, right? And you can see a lot of teams fall apart, especially in this NIL era. A lot of people are getting paid more than professional athletes now. So, but for athletes at smaller programs, I feel like this is overlooked often. What are the non-negotiable skills or habits they need to start building a brand from scratch, like you kind of did?
The non-negotiable, I would start off with number one, consistency. Just like these players experience trying to get recruited from being an underdog, it's not always going to be a one-shot bang. You always have to just keep shooting and keep posting, keep commenting, keep creating, and you just have to have that consistency when nobody's watching. Second, I would just say probably communication. DMs, emails, follow-ups. That's super important when trying to get opportunities for yourself because no one's going to come knocking at your door with the opportunity, especially at the level you're at. It's really up to you to vouch and leverage yourself to other people because there's a million other brands out there that are looking for creators, but they don't know where they're at. I mean, it's easy to hit up Jeremiah Smith. They're easy to hit up Shredor Sanders or all these people, but ultimately you got to get through agents. You got to get through contracts, legal teams, all that. It's 1,000 times easier just to reach out to an athlete who loves creating without any of the hassle of any legal things, none of that. So,
And
um,
that's another thing, is granted we are in all service, but we reach out from the player's profile through our AI bot that we embed, right? So that's why we see the best turnover, because they think it's a player at the end of the day, right? I mean, really not an NIL agent, but with that bot, it makes it look like them, and I think that's a big thing, like you said, because we influence players. If they are at a lower level, we'll send them a script over to use and help let them build themselves up, and potentially, if they want to turn over to us where they don't have to bother with it, they can. But otherwise, we try to help a lot of these lower level players and athletes realize, hey, you can go do the same thing.
exactly. And then also just, I mean, it's really important, which I feel like a lot of lower level athletes lack, is just having that self awareness. I mean, it's good to know that football is your main leverage, because I mean that's what got you to that point playing in college. But when you're creating content and making videos for brands, you have to understand that they look for more than just stats. And the players who have that awareness of what they can do for a brand that genuinely is valuable to them, that's how you get brand deals quicker. A lot of players think that just who they are under the helmet, the talent they have, that translates to content creation. I know players who weren't that talented, but they were just really good at creating content, and they got more opportunities than the dude that got All-American that year. So it's really important. And then take it from someone like me. I mean, went I wasn't getting that much playing time at the NAI level, maybe a couple of snaps on offense and, of course, special teams. But I was probably the only guy on that team, or let alone NAI, to get a brand deal and make it be paid at the NAI level. That's pretty unheard of. There's D1 guys and D2 guys still trying to figure that part out on how to get paid. So really just having that self-awareness on where your value stands, that's going to be the most important aspect to really put yourself in. Once you have that lens, then I think you're good.
No, that's definitely true, because backups can even make it now. If you can content create like you do, which you do great at that, you know, it's all about showing yourself and showing what kind of character you are and what things you appeal to, right? And if you can do that and advertise it correctly on your social media, I mean, brands will like that, because you can advertise better than let's say a D1 5-star, right? That can't really communicate and verbally express, a deal or something on TikTok or something, some kind of clip. So, but wrapping up this segment, it kind of goes back to question number 2 that we asked a minute ago. How did you balance being an athlete but also becoming the content guy as you started increasing with the respect and credibility on TikTok, but also as well in the locker room?
Um, the balance really between there, it just has to do with knowing what you're there for. I mean, my dad always said, keep the main thing the main thing. And that's also really important tool to have, because I mean, there were times where I did enjoy the kind of clout of it, where I mean, you're at a small university and people are always trying to, hey, Chris, pull up to this, or Chris, like, what are you doing later? That's not the what you're there for. I'm glad I was raised with that humility to kind of not get distracted by the money or get distracted by the um I guess clout that comes with that, and just staying humble and just staying to my roots of just being a football player. I mean, I was always out there training every day. Always showed up to weights. I was a hard worker on the field, because if you're not working hard on the field, coaches are going to look at you and see that you're working hard on something that's extracurricular from what they recruited you there for, and that's going to rub off wrong. As long as you're showing up and being sharp in every area, it's ultimately going to help you be a better content creator that's getting NIL, because waking up early. You wake up an hour early before everyone else to send those 10 emails a day. Why everyone's focused on rest time, playing Madden, not really being productive. You're focusing on how to increase your vocabulary so you're able to pitch to brands better. And these are things that teach athletes how to carry themselves beyond the sport. And it's good to have NIL agents and talk about business, but ultimately it's about athletes growing and excelling past the sport, because unless you're full in on content creation and you want to do this in the long run, content creation or football isn't always going to be there. So you just have to be able to carry yourself as a respectable, knowledgeable person, young woman or man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because just like you said, it's going to carry on way beyond whenever the helmet drops, whenever the ball drops, whatever sports you play. And if you understand how to financially and interpret these agreements, when you get in the real world, it's going to be the same way. It's not changing much. I mean, granted, depending on what field you go into, it could change a little bit, but ultimately it could make you a better person and understand what the real life scenarios ultimately will be. So
Yeah.
as we jump into the next segment, guys, this is more on the NIL portion of how Cris was able to break into it as a NIL athlete, which is ultimately uncommon, just like you mentioned earlier. So walk us through your first pitch email or DM that you ultimately ever use, and how did you position yourself as an asset in that message of not just being another athlete that wanted free product or free compensation for something?
Ultimately, it came down to just, like you said, finding out what value I can offer. And I'm not going to ask to fix someone's roof if I never fixed someone's roof before. I'm not going to ask to create content if I never created content for a brand before. And that's necessarily doesn't mean I had to get paid to do it for the first time.
Hmm.
So this kind of dates back to when I received a water bottle as a gift. It was a brand new Owala, and I was like, I wonder if, like, I heard about content creation for athletes, but let me just try to make a fake video. So I made a mock video of this Owala water bottle that I paid for, and the video ended up getting some pretty good traction. I was just talking about how I used it as an athlete and add little B-roll shots of me power cleaning, hand cleaning, and I used that video to reach out to my first initial brand, which was Feet Clothing. And Feet, seeing that I did it for someone else, whether it was paid or unpaid, they saw my work. They saw my credibility. So when I asked them for what I asked them for, I didn't ask for money. I just asked for another free opportunity, because at the end of the day, um, good business doesn't always mean money. I mean, that free opportunity was able to get me 10 steps ahead of most people who are asking for money without credibility. So I remember just hitting up Feet Clothing. Hey, I'm a content creator. I'm 19 years old, a football player at Ottawa University. I'm looking to create a couple cool videos for you guys, absolutely for free in exchange of free product. Here's some of my work I did. If you have any thoughts, look forward to hearing them. They got back to me and they're like, "Oh, we would appreciate any social content you can share. Here, we're gonna give you this one-time code of $500." So I'm 19 years old in college and a sophomore. I get $500 to just spend whatever I want on clothing. I mean, that's $5,000 or $500 in college. That's basically $2,000. So
Yep.
I had a ball just looking around, finding out clothes, and then once I actually got those clothes and made the video for them, they loved it. They sent me a message back on email saying, "Christian, this content was amazing." As someone who likes to capitalize on things, I took a screenshot of that feedback and that testimonial of, "Christian, this content was amazing." And guess what? The next brand, I'm gonna let them know, "Hey, I made this video for Feet Clothing. I did it for a wall of the water bottle. What could I do for you?" And ultimately, I think that the deal after that, that's when Arm& Hammer was willing to work with me, and that's when things started getting monetized. And from there, I mean, they've been monetized ever since, thankfully.
No, that's awesome, and that's exact thing that a lot of athletes don't realize. If you can make content and show that to these corporations as you start to level up, the better opportunity you got. Because if you don't have any content on your social media, if you're not really there to demonstrate what you could value to these corporations, what are they spending it on? What are they giving you, to benefit themselves? So I think that's crucial for a lot of athletes to, listen to. But, if for any athletes that will listen to this, how should they measure their brand growth if they don't have a massive followers account? And do numbers actually matter, do you think?
Um, how should they maximize their growth without a lot of followers? And if the numbers really matter, ultimately, the numbers do not matter. The numbers are just there for extra credibility. Because if you're a good content creator, brands aren't looking to get their content posted on your page all the time, especially if your page isn't about strictly football content. It's not something that they see their video being billboarded onto your page. That's not always going to be the case. So stressing about followers, is, of course, it's nice to have a good following. It makes your chances higher, but ultimately you still get wins if you showcase yourself as someone with 100 followers, but you make really good content. Because if the content is good enough, brands are going to see it up to par with their standards, and they're going to post it on their page, and they still pay people for that. Um, that kind of answers both questions. But as far as the engagement will matter, essentially, at some point, because sooner or later brands are going to want to see ROI on your videos. They're going to want to see why it was worth investing in you. Being an athlete's cool and all, but that doesn't bring in money right away. It's up to you to use your athletic career and stack it on your content creation skills, and ultimately just let those two come together to push that product and reach a certain amount of likes. So that comes with having a good hook. It comes with having a good body, talking points, and then a good call to action. And if your videos aren't structured like that, they're not going to perform well.
No, they're not. And you definitely got to be structured, and you definitely got to, when a lot of corporations will send you over what the target goal is of this content creation of that they want you to build. And if you don't consist of that or hit that goal, they're not going to be too happy. And that word will spread because a lot of corporations do talk to other businesses, and that's why I tell athletes, never burn a bridge, because this might not be the corporation or brand you want, but if you turn it away and deny it, who else is going to find out about it? It could be the smallest company, but the America is small in the network world, and people don't realize that. So,
For sure.
but to close that up, I think it'd be cool to just hit on this real quick, and it's not really on the script, but Cris, just share how much you made as an NAI athlete, and you don't have to give the exact number, but I think it'd be cool just for people to know that it is possible at the D3 NAI level if they ultimately want to dedicate themselves to also doing this off the field to build a lifelong brand, possibly.
Of course, as a NAI athlete, for those 2 years, my first year doing it was my sophomore year. So just within that year, adding the summer, I think I was somewhere around, let's say, around 12K. And that's pretty good in not even a year, really a spring and a summer. But even up until this day, which is why just having the skill of creating content is so important, I'm now at probably up there around 20K. And that's why creating content, if you can get people's attention, it pays you for life. It's just up to me that I haven't been scaling it and taking full advantage of it, because I just see the opportunity in helping other athletes learn how to monetize their name and help them get the same opportunities that they wouldn't have without content creation. So that was a bigger calling. When it comes to monetization, there is ways to scale your brand and your brand deals if you find the ways. And that's what kind of I offer to athletes, finding ways how to scale that. So yeah, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money out there, way more than 20K for sure.
No, that's for sure. But you got the right mindset to, to help these other athletes, they're probably in a similar situation as you are to realize the opportunity that is there if they want to go get it. So I think that's kind of cool that you take that kind of approach. But,
Yeah.
jump into our spotlight tonight. I think this is a big topic, especially with the D1 level, is the NIL or pay to play kind of becoming the big topic right now. And a lot of people are getting deterred from it. So, from your experience, where do you see the line between NIL being a tool for opportunities versus NIL becoming a pay to play system that programs use to manipulate athletes ultimately?
That's a good question. Honestly, with when it comes to NAI football or just any athletic sports, it's really up to you on how you use that platform. Because at the end of the day, with anything in life, if you let it control you or let it deter your decisions, then that's what makes you get used. So as long as you just have the right mindset coming into NAI, because it can come off as pay to play, but if you're using the field or court to get to where you want to go, then you're going to see good things from any investment. There's always the flip side to coins. My freshman year, when I was coming in, a recruiting coach told me that, hey, like with any lower level universities, use the field to get to where you want to go. Don't let it use you. The second I got there, I could see the both sides of those people. I mean, I've seen players who are 26 letting the field use them.
Hmm.
That's the product that you do not want to become. I learned that from when I first stepped foot on that campus. So as long as you have the right intentions and you know where you're wanting to go with your career and just with yourself, then it wouldn't be something to kind of see as a negative. It would be more something to just see as something that you can work with for your advantage. Because NAI isn't like other schools. You do get opportunities to hit the field. You get opportunities to play past high school. You get opportunities to network and really have great experiences. Being at Ottawa University, I mean, I had a great head coach, Nick Davis, and he made college football not feel like college football. I mean, he was still disciplined and hard on us to get us to all play right, but ultimately it was like having a GA that was in charge of things running the program, and that I would have to say that was the coolest thing like to have. My high school coach, he would be a guy you didn't want to talk to because he was just so rough. And Nick Davis, I mean, we second year we came back and won a conference championship just off of core values that he instilled in the team. So uh, you get a lot of opportunities to become a great football player and have a great career. As far as the social side of things, I mean, being at a smaller university versus being at a big high school previously, being at a small university, I was able to make more connections and really just interact with people more than I ever been able to have. And Ottawa being down the street from KU, it gave me enough kind of proximity to go down to KU and build some really great relationships and help me grow in my career. So ultimately, it's a cost benefit analysis. So however much you're paying or however big your scholarship is, it's really up to you to analyze and see, is it the best move for you based off what benefits you can get out of it. If not, then I mean, community college is also a great option. It's really up to you.
There's paths out there every which way nowadays, especially with the transfer portal. We see players all the time that reach the top of, the power four level that we call it now. Um, that came from an NAI school or a D2 school. It's happening nonstop now. So if you let the field not control you and let it become your journey and tackle it like that you just said, the sky's the limit ultimately.
Mhm.
We see players every year, bumping up. Prime example is Trinidad Chambliss this year at Ole Miss. He's was supposed to be the backup from Ferris State coming into Ole Miss this year, but now he's in the college football playoff and on the biggest stage ever. As a former D2 quarterback that barely had any offers coming out of high school. So that's another story that validates what you just said. So. But
Yeah.
kind of close up the spotlight, and this kind of out of the box question, but I think it's kind of crucial with everything that's going on in the college sports world. But if you could redesign how programs approach NIL, specifically Division One level, what specific changes would you make to ensure athletes are being developed as a as a person first, not just as a marketing asset for some of these schools that we see them all using nowadays.
Oh man, I have some good ideas. You might have to pay me to say them. Now I'm playing. To be honest, I think the way D1 programs are looking at NIL right now is depending on what level of D1 we're talking about in conference. I think everyone's shuffling their papers still, trying to really understand what foundations and systems to build, because it's different when you're helping an individual versus when you're helping a mass. And the programs that offer the most NIL within and not from third parties, those are going to be the programs that ultimately come out on top and start winning recruiting battles. So what I feel like they might start practicing, of course, is building the players up to knowing how to leverage themselves. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, if you have leverage or value, that's what gets you those opportunities. It really depends on the program themselves and what their goals behind it are, because you could have a Bill Belichick, North Carolina, who's not really messing with NIL, and that wouldn't be a place to go to ball out and, of course, maximize your NIL opportunities. But places that are kind of smaller or out there, let's use Texas State as an example. If I were to get my athletes NIL deals, I would first start talking about and teaching my players on how to clean up their social media pages. Having a clean social media page, that's where it starts. Being able to make sure that when brands see your page, they could picture their product on your page. Not, okay, this is a guy we got to stay away from because he's going to get us canceled or some of that. So making sure they have that knowledge before. And then secondly, having a agent or let's say a GA, kind of like how we have athletic trainers, there should be someone like that for NIL for these athletes, because ultimately brands are going to know where the big hotspots are. So brands are going to come to a program themselves than the individual players. Easy for them that way. They have more to choose from. If there's GAs or trainers type of NIL people reaching out to players, hey, this brand's here to work with whoever, I'll send them over your stuff. I think that kind of funnel system works out perfectly, because that's ultimately how I get brand deals to this day. I'm never in complete direct contact with the brand. Rarely. Sometimes I will be, depending on the skill, but I'm always in contact with a person that's a agent who's helping me with that. So that's also something to take into account.
No, that's for sure. But you're exactly right. The bigger the team or affiliate is typically going to draw the bigger brands. We see it all the time in the Big Ten now. With Oregon, Ohio State, they're always the top teams now, right? And it's because of the brand they've built over the years, but it's also the foundation they got under them, because they got so many ties to those big corporations. Like Nike's founder, where did he graduate college from? Oregon. So of course he's going to give majority of their assets to Oregon. So you see a lot of that. So. But, to kind of start wrapping up this podcast tonight, we always ask a podcast question to our guest, Cris. And tonight's question, or today's question actually, is what's the biggest barrier when you started pursuing NIL deals? Was it lack of guidance / mentorship? Was it not knowing how to pitch to brands? Was it lower follower count or perceived value? Or was it coaches or programs disencouraging it?
To be honest, I think that take for me would be just a lack of guidance and a lack of knowing how to pitch correctly. And what I mean by that is, myself, when I was learning how to get into the whole space overall, I wasn't able to just hit up a brand and be like, hey, work with me, pay me, this, that. So I didn't know really where to start. It took a couple weeks of understanding how to get my feet up off the ground. So that guidance, I mean, no one's holding your hand or telling you how to get your first deal or get deals after that. It's really all up to you. It's holding yourself accountable to that. I mean, even with the athletes that come on to Halftime Hustle, I let them know that early on. I mean, yeah, as we're on call, you might feel really hyped up to get your first brand deal because now you know all the steps, now you know what to do. But ultimately, it comes down to actually wanting it for yourself, because you can learn how to know everything about building a house, but it takes building the house and that action and that execution to get it done.
Yep.
So when that hype wears off, I notice these athletes kind of go idle for a minute and they don't move after that. But then, of course, the ones who really do want it, I see some great turnouts like Solomon. When I gave him the steps, he went and took it and ran off, and now he's making money from consistent brand deals with different companies. So having that guidance was something I didn't have, and it's amazing that I'm able to offer that guidance. After that, the pitch, not knowing how to pitch, that was kind of challenging, but early on, I remember this new thing back in 2023 that everyone was using, which was AI. So using those tools to teach you how to do things that the expert isn't in your corner to teach you on, that's where you leverage AI. AI was able to teach me how to pitch myself properly and how to flow it all together so it came across as professional and came across as genuine as well. You don't want to sound like a robot on your AI emails where it's hey, I'm this, that, this, and people don't read that. I don't read AI emails. As long as you're able to put something you want to say in AI and AI just flows it better, and then of course you put your own personality on it, that comes across professional and people find it genuine. So that would be kind of the barriers that got me in there. A lot of barriers I could see other athletes running into from getting their first brand deal, just how they communicate with me. Is I have a lot of athletes that slide into my DMs saying yo or F with me. Grammar and vocabulary like that's not something that brands want to see. So if you're emailing brands yo or DMing company coaches yo, what's up, whoever, if you're trying to get to where you really want to go and you're taking yourself seriously, you're going to speak correctly to anyone you're talking to, because your first presentation and your encounter is going to carry you longer than whatever short-term gain you ever get from anything.
Yep.
So that would be a barrier that I would flag athletes to watch out for. I mean, it's cool. It's cool locker room talk. Like I was there. But ultimately, when it comes to business and professionalism, those are really important to have.
No, you hit it right on the head. No, it's automatic turn off when you message like that. It's not a good look at all for yourself. So athletes got to definitely keep that in mind and realize when you're reaching out to someone, it needs to be professional. And also, AI is a great tool, right? That's what our foundation is built off of. But you also have to know how to tailor it. That's why we require all of our players to fill out our questionnaire, and every single field is required, because if that AI is missing one of that information, it can very easily turn into a robot message, right?
Mhm.
So with that being said, no, if an athlete does use AI, like you said, make sure you're prompting it to do the same what you want it to do. Don't just put it in there and say, hey, just create me an email for this. Actually guide it to what you want where it doesn't come across that way. So I think that's very crucial. But our weekly quote this week is, be the best version of yourself at anything you do. You don't have to live anybody else's story. And that's by Steph Curry. And I think that speaks to any athlete at any level of sport. Because if you're the best version of yourself in whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's ultimately a better story in the end. So, coming in closing remark, you got anything, Chris, you want to give the guest that might tune into this?
Um, I want people to kind of listen to this and kind of some of the value you got, and really put yourself in the mindset of, don't take the knowledge you get from this as I'm going to try to be the next Christian Baul at the NAI level. I think it's not about being the next anybody. I think it's more so just leaning into your own story and your own opportunities and your own advantages, and just watching doors open from that, because when you work to your strengths, that's when you get the most results.
Yep. No, just like you said, rely on your own story. Everybody's story is different. If everybody's story was the same, it'd be a boring world. So rely
Right.
on your personal story and use that personal story to tailor your either your brands or what you want to build in your own self in your life. So,
Of
but
course.
guys, that's a wrap on tonight's or today's Prowler podcast, and that's the end for the 2025. We appreciate every athlete, parent, and coach and supporter who tunes in and pushes this mission forward that we try to help all athletes of all stories. And happy new year from us here at the Prowler family as we close out 2025 with a bang. And we appreciate Christian Baul for coming on and sharing his story and sharing his insights because he's one of the best ones out there currently. So if you haven't checked him out on TikTok, definitely go look at his content and what he has to say because it's crucial for any athlete trying to get guided. So, but as
Of
always,
course.
we're only getting started. Stay focused as always, stay hungry, and keep betting on yourself, guys, because as always, we cannot wait to see what's next for you. And as always, Prowler up, guys.
Of course.